In this video, we're going to look at changing the subject formula where powers or square roots are involved. So the first question is k equals 3ax squared, and we're going to make x the subject of the formula. So I won't do the powers and square roots until that is the only thing on that side. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 3a, move it to the other side. Well, it's multiplying the x squared, so I'm going to divide then, do the opposite. And that will leave me with k is equal to 3a is equal to x squared. Now I've got the term with the power on its own, I'm now going to do the opposite. So it's squaring, so the opposite of that is square rooting. So I'm going to square root both sides. That's why it's important to move everything first. And that leaves me with, after flipping it, x is equal to the square root of k over 3a. Okay, let's look at the next one. So dx squared minus e equals f squared. So I've got to get x squared on its own first, or else it gets quite complicated. So I'm going to add the e to both sides. Remember, try and do the adding or taking away first if you can. And now I've got dx squared, so I need to remove the d. So I'm going to divide everything as it's multiplying the x squared. So I've got x squared is equal to f squared plus e over d. And now the x squared, well, I got to do the opposite, which we've seen before, is square root both sides. So I'm going to get a square root, give myself a bit more space. And that means that x is equal to the square root of f squared plus e all over d. Let's now move on to the last two examples where they've got square roots. So the first one says y equals the square root of x over 4m. Well, I can't do anything with the things inside that square root until I get rid of it. Well, the opposite of square rooting is squaring, so I'm going to square both sides. So that leaves me with y squared is equal to x over 4m. So I've got rid of the square root. Now I can remove the 4m. Well, that's dividing the x, so the opposite of that then is multiplying. So that leaves me with, on my left-hand side, 4my squared is equal to x as the 4m's cancel on the right-hand side. And just rearranging that, we would get x is equal to 4my squared. Now, last example here. Let's look at this one here. 5 is equal to the square root of x over c. Now, it's only the x that's been square rooted. And as we said before, you don't want to mess with the powers until you've got the thing with the power on its own. So the first thing I'm going to do this time, as the c is not in the square root, is multiply everything by c to get it off the bottom. So that's going to leave me with c times 5, well that's 5c is equal to the square root of x. Now I can get rid of the square root, which if you remember is, to get rid of it, you square everything on both sides. So I'm going to be left with x is equal to 5c all squared. Well, 5c all squared means 5c times 5c. So 5 times 5 is 25, and c times c is c squared. So x is equal to 25c squared.